How's it going, all of you CCNA candidates? My name is Rob, and this video is going to be a demonstration tutorial on how to get Packet Tracer 5.3 through, well, 5.3.3 really, up and running. I was running Packet Tracer 6, but I was finding it had a lot of bugs in it, and I didn't really like that because, you know, if I'm demonstrating something, I want it to do what I tell it to do. So it wasn't doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through just some of the steps that you need to do in order to get some things up and running and go from there. So for all of you that want to set up a CCNA style environment, we're going to take a couple 1841s, get them out here, and I'm going to mock this up similar, oh there we go, to the way that CBT Nuggets CCNA does it. And we're going to grab a couple of switches here, and go switch here, and there. So the premise behind this is so you guys can see how it is to replicate VLANs and have router on a stick configured, all the fun stuff that you can do with Packet Tracer. Mind you, there's not a whole lot of configuration that is necessary to get this up and running, but I will show you what you need to do in order to get this running. So for the routers, if you want to get connectivity to the routers, you click on it, highlights this thing. Now, the thing with the 1841, actually with any of the switches that are, any of the routers that are in Packet Tracer, they are not hot swappable, just like they are not hot swappable in real life. So you're going to take this guy and stick it in there. Can't add a module when the power's on. Well, the power switch is right there. You just click on this guy, you click on WIC 2T, and you hit the power button. Don't worry about adding any type of software to it. It's already there. You just click X on this guy, and then you repeat for as many routers as you want to have running, and continue on. This goes by pretty quick, and you just keep going, and like so. And now every one of my routers has WIC 2T inside of it, meaning you can have two serial connections to that router. So next thing I'm going to show you, if you go up to the options button right here, you click on preferences, see where it says port labels always shown? You click on that label and you click X. What you're going to end up doing is when you click on the connections down here at the bottom, and you click on serial DCE side, and then you click on this side, you click on 000 to 000, it's going to show which side is the clocking side. So this is the side that you're going to want to put your clocking rate on, and it's also the information to where you want to put it. Next thing I'm going to do is do this again, and we're going to 001 to serial 00. Continue on, and that guy to this guy and to that guy. There, now we have it. So now all we're going to do now is we're going to take, these are copper straight through. If you hover over it, it'll tell you copper crossover. Like devices need copper crossover. So your switches to your switches to switches, routers to routers, computers to computers, all need crossover, because it's NIC to NIC at that point. So I'm going to go FAS024 to FAS024. You guys can't see it because it's outside of your screen, but you scroll down just a little bit here, and go on to the next one, and FAS23 to FAS23. So why would you do this? Well, mainly because of the fact that you're going to need to get connections to your devices here. Now, the reason this is going red is because this port is physically shut off. Now, for you CSENT candidates, people that don't want to CSENT, if you're doing it correctly, you should be on the command line from the get-go, because you're going to need to know what all the different command levels are, all the configuration. So you click on the CLI. You actually would take one step back. You can click on config and go fast Ethernet 0/0, and you can actually type in the IP address and the subnet mask and click on auto, and notice how auto goes 100 meg full or 100 meg half. Well, that's a bad thing. By default, fast Ethernet and Ethernet interfaces. 10 100 ports on routers and switches automatically default to 100 FAF. If it's a gigabit or higher, it automatically what's the word I'm looking for? It defaults to 100 full or gig full. So something for you guys to know. If it's, I don't think that's going to be on the exam, but what you can do is you click on and it turns the port on and it shows you the command that it did. So if we do, it says no shutdown. So equivalent iOS commands. This was good when I first started off and clicking on here and I just type in 192.168.1.1 and then it automatically fills in the subnet mask for you. Now the TX ring, that stands for transmit ring. If you change the transmit ring, that's going to increase the default queue size on the interface. So you type in 25. TX ring limit is 25. That means it's going to hold 25 packets in buffer if it's trying to send. So you can go, I believe, up to 100. You can go as high as you want, really. So I'm going to click on auto and auto in here, and it automatically will go 100 full. So iOS commands this as well. So that's all you need to do. Now you click on auto, it's going to stay there, but really there's no point to that, because what will end up happening is the next time it reboots, it's going to go back to auto. I always hard code, and now it's been hard coded. So that's what you can do. Now you can do that for all the interfaces, except for the serial 0. You get the clocking rate, the ability, and the duplex is automatically going to be full duplex, and the transmit ring is the same. Port status, you can click that on, it's going to go no shutdown. You can do all that stuff. Now if you want to do routing, you can do that as well. You can click on RIP, and then you can type in 10.1.1.0 add. You can type in 2.0 add, and what? Oh, see, because the fact that RIP is the distance vector protocol, it'll automatically summarize back to the classful range. So if you do 172.16.2.0 and click add, it's going to default back to the classful range. Same thing with this guy, 192.168.1.50 add 192.168.1.0. It does not matter, because this is a class A network, this is a class B network, and this is a class C network, /8/16/24. So it does not matter what you type it in as. Same thing with static. If you type, now this is GUI based, so for those of you that don't want to deal with learning the command line, so you typed in network is going to be 192.168.1.0. The mask is going to be to all 255s. Well, so we'll put a /32 mask, and next hop is going to be 10.1.1.1, and you click add. That's going to add a static route in there, saying to get to the 192.168.1 network on a /30 mask, it's going to be, the next hop is going to be 10.1.1.1. So it's going to say, it's going to give you the equivalent commands: show IP route, or IP route 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.255, or 252, I should say, is going to be 10.1.1.1. All that's saying is in order to get to this network, you need to go out to this IP address, which is going to be the next hop of the next router. So me, I'm an iOS junkie. I prefer going on the command line. That's where I live, is on the command line. So show IP interface brief, they're down, because they're not connected to anything. So the idea now is to go to fast Ethernet 0/0, type in interface F0/0, and type in no shut, or excuse me. Oh, I betcha on the switch it's port down too. And enable show IP interface brief is down. The reason why it's down, no switch port. We have to go in and interface fast 0/1, type switch port, mode trunk. And that's odd. And show run interface fast 0/0. Oh, can't stand that. It doesn't give you, it only lets you type in show run. config, click on this guy. Oh, okay. I see. Full. That's why. Duplex mismatch. That's why it wouldn't work. I didn't think of that until I saw this. But by default, it autos and stuff like that. So it is a trunk port. It'll allow VLANs 1 through 1000. You can do all these if you want to. On a 2950 switch, that's all it's going to allow, though, in Packet Tracer. You can go to the VLAN database right here, and you can start adding VLANs if you choose to do so. Algorithm settings, you can set it up to where it does so many connections at one time. I wouldn't mess with that. Settings, you can go in here. If you get one where, say for instance, the interface is locked to where you can't actually access the router or the device, if you click on Erase NVRAM, erase the starter config and click yes, what will end up happening is then you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to access the command line. So in case you guys wanted to hack into the router, you can load the image, and it's going to take that a couple seconds. And if you have a starter config already saved somewhere, you can load it from there. You can export it somewhere, which is going to be basically the same thing. I wouldn't mess with that too much. Now, we have it set up here. Now, for those of you that are going to be dealing with VLANs, I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to go to, since I'm under the interface, I'm actually going to exit out, and I'm going to show you one little quick trick here. If you do interface fast0/0 question mark, see if it doesn't give you the carriage return, that means there's things you can type underneath the interface. Right now, we can hit enter and just go under the, FA0/0. You can hit /0 question mark and the interface. So if you have multiple multiple modules you can put in here, WIC cards, so on and so forth, that's where that would come into play. Or you can hit the dot question mark after that again and interface fast Ethernet interface number. Well, what does that do? Well, what ends up happening is on the fast Ethernet the F0/0 physical interface, the actual port where you actually plug it in, the cable into the port, that is VLAN 1. That responds for only VLAN 1. If you want this switch port or this fast Ethernet port to respond to any other VLAN, you have to specify, well, you don't have to name it after the VLAN, but I usually go for the port number is going to be the VLAN number. So I do that, question mark, and see where it says CR, that means carriage return. Press enter. So now you are under sub-interface. So it's actually the physical interface, but it's a logical interface, meaning it's iOS driven. So now what you do is you do question mark, and you can give it an IP address. First thing I would do, though, is see where it says encapsulation, type in EN and hit the tab key, question mark, and you only have one option, .1Q. What this does is it allows you to set up your switches with VLANs, and it allows you to use the router and this link right here to route your VLANs, what's known as a router on a stick. So we're going to type in as .1Q, question mark, and IEEE 802.1Q VLAN ID. You're not actually going to type this in, you're just going to label the ID. What this is telling the iOS is you're saying, I want you to respond and forward for this VLAN. So, subinterface 10, we're going to say VLAN 10. So encapsulation.1Q 10. So it's saying, I want to use encapsulation IEEE.1Q, which is the industry standard, and I want this to forward packets, or frames in this case, for VLAN 10. Enter. I'm going to type an IP address and then whatever the VLAN number is. Remember, a VLAN equals a subnet equals a broadcast domain. So we have right now 192.168.1.1 is going to be VLAN 1's IP address, or the default gateway IP. We're going to type in 192.168.10.1 and then give it the mask. This is how it identifies what binary bits to respond to. So once you have this put in here, you can go in there, hit enter, and now if you do a do show IP interface brief, what this does is the do command allows you to execute any privilege mode command in global config mode. Control E takes you to the end of the line. You press enter and it shows you the show IP interface brief command from global config. So you see fast Ethernet 0/0 192.168.1.1 for VLAN 1, and you see fast Ethernet 0/0.10 192.168.10.1. They're up. So if I had a VLAN configured on these switches and a user attached to that VLAN, then it would work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to end, and I'm going to go over to switch 1, and under the command line I'm going to go into global config mode, and I'm going to type in VLAN 10, create the VLAN first. The VLAN is created, name it, we're going to say sales, and out of this we're going to do show VLAN, and we've created the VLAN, sales VLAN. Now, there's nothing actually in this VLAN on switch 2. So what we got to do then is we got to go to global config mode again, and whatever interface we want to put in that VLAN. So interface fast 0/12. You type in switch port mode access. What that tells the switch port is it's going to respond for access ports only. So you can only put one VLAN, one data VLAN, I should say, on that interface. Now this is an older version of Packet Tracer, so I don't know if it's going to respond to this. But I'm going to type in switch port question mark. Oh, it does do it. What this does is, if this is going to connect to a Cisco IP phone, well, actually I should say, well, yeah, I don't think it can respond to. Yeah, it should be able to, because it's going to be looking for the quality of service, the COS markings. So you type in voice question mark VLAN question mark, and then whatever you've mandated for the voice VLAN. So in this case, we're going to say VLAN 12. Enter. So now this switch port is going to respond for packets, or frames, I should say, because it's layer 2, in VLAN 12, which is going to be the voice VLAN. Type in switch port access VLAN 10. Now what does that do? That places this port to forward frames for VLAN 10 at the access port level. So we configured it as an access port. We're also going to do this. We're going to type in and then we're going to do show VLAN again. And you notice now, well, we didn't configure it yet, but let's go to global config mode real quick and type in VLAN 12, type in name voice and show VLAN. Oh, we got to put it in there yet. Config T, Control Shift 6X, I didn't turn no IP domain lookup off. Config T interface fast 0/12, and we're going to hit the up arrow a couple times, and there. So now we do show VLAN. Okay, this particular version of Packet Tracer might not do it then, because I put it into switch port voice VLAN 12. Maybe it's an order of operations thing. Let's click no and hit the voice VLAN 10 and hit the up arrow a couple times. Okay, it doesn't matter. But I wanted to show you guys that that's an option if you're going to run voice and be on that at the same time. What it might not be doing is because it might not detect. It may be waiting for CDP. But I just wanted to show you guys how that worked and how to apply switch ports to VLANs. And so it's going to be going underneath the switch port, and then you're going to apply it to the VLAN. Or the other way you could look at it is you can take the VLAN you're going to apply to the interface. So that is it. Not a whole lot else to do. I wanted to give you guys an idea for that. For the serial interfaces, if you're going to do some sort of clocking, so I'm going to click on this guy. I'm going to click on the command line, and I'm going to type no, and enable and config T. Type in interface serial 0/0/0. I'm going to type in clock rate question mark, and we get a whole bunch of different options. We can go from 1200 baud bits per second or up to 4 million. We're going to do 64,000 because actually that's what a 56K is. Done. So now when we go to configure it, it'll come up. That is pretty much it. I just wanted to show you guys how to do that. The same thing applies for if you do a phone. You go down to End Devices. You type in, you grab an IP phone, and you drag this out. And we're gonna take this, get the 7960 IP phone. We're gonna click on this guy, and we're going to. This right here is a different type of phone. This is like gonna be this type of phone, analog phone. We're gonna use Ethernet for ours because that's what these guys respond to. So we're gonna plug this into this switch to this guy. Oh, that didn't work out too well. And we're gonna click on this guy, switch to 12, and we have to turn. The reason this guy isn't working is because we have to apply inline power. So if we take inline power adapter, and where does that go? Oh, right there. So now the link is up now because we've applied inline power. So if we go to the GUI config of the GUI, we can actually start configuring the phone from here. This is actually what it looks like in real life. So you can actually type in numbers, and you can call people when you get it all set up, and then you can hit Do Re Mi. That's funny. I've never actually played with this before, so I'm actually speaker volume. Kind of cool, actually. I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. So that's how you do that. Now let's go click back on this guy. We're going to see now it says up, and we're going to do show VLAN. Okay, it's still not showing it that it's in there. That's okay. But that's that. Now that I've shown you how to do that, for those of you that are going to be doing some sort of static routing on this router, we're going to go config T, type in IP route, and we're going to say 192. Well, I'm a fan of the 10 route. So 10.1.1.0 and 255.255.255. Now let me clarify something just real quick for you. You can specify a host IP address if you want to go like directly to an IP, but you have to match. So we're going to do type .1, hit Control E and type in say serial 0. Hit enter. It's going to. Oh, okay, let's go 0/0. It'll say inconsistent address and mask. So we have to actually specify we're going to go 255. So it's going to take it then. It'll be a host IP route. So at that point you can do host IP routes, but the subnet mask has got to match whatever this is running at. That is it. I wanted to give you a tutorial on how Packet Tracer worked and go from there. If you want to delete a device, you've got to come in here. You can do that, or you can just hit this and it'll take care of that. If I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try anyway. Command line, hit no. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let's. Oh, it's already set up for it. Actually, let's drag out another router real quick, and I'll show you what this does. If you click on the command line, it's decompressing the image right now. It should take just a second for it to do it. This is what it will do in real life. Where it says continue with configuration dialog, I usually hit no, but it'll say you hit yes. Basic management setup configures only enough connectivity for management of the system. Extended setup will ask you to configure each interface on the system. Would you like to enter basic management setup? This is going to basically be a command line wizard for you to set up your device. If you click no, it'll and it gives you your options. At any point you may use a question mark, and please answer yes or no if you don't know what's going on. That's what they call context-sensitive help. And if default settings are in square brackets where it's just like that, yes or no. So we have to type in yes. What this does is you're going to enter the host name. So you say R1, enter. And then you're going to want to type in the enable secret. So we'll type in Cisco, hit enter. enable password. Now, why is it asking me that two times? Well, because of the fact that if you have any issues with something, this will work with it. If you have older iOS versions, it may not support the enable secret, so we're going to type in the same password, but we're going to have to change it by one. See, it'll say you have an enable secret password the same, so type in Cisco 1. It's only going to be off by 1 digit. Or I think you can put a space in there. It'll take it that too. Be careful of white spaces. Those will kill you. They're hard to pull out in the running config, and if you're doing any type of authentication between your routing protocols, that can hose you up. Enter virtual terminal password. This is how you can, well, telnet or SSH. So we're type in Cisco. Configure SNMP network management. You can if you want to, but I usually hit no. And you can say management, enter interfaces used to connect to the management network for the above interface summary. And at this point you're like, what? You can hit Control C, and that'll break you out of that. And then you're basically back to this point. This is where I prefer to be. I don't like command line wizards. I just wanted to show you what it looked like and how to deal with it, for those of you that have never messed with it, and go from there. So that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a little tutorial on how it works. If you don't like the interface, things like this where you have multiple connections, options, preferences, show port labels, they go automatically right away. So you can also change your font to administrative. Where is it? There was an option to change. One second. View, tools. Oh, user profile. No, that's not it. Cancel, options, preferences. I guess not. Oh, edit. Algorithm settings. No, that's not it. CBAC. That is content. That is wait a minute. Content-based access control. What that basically means is half open session multiplier. CBAC allows you to implement a security feature that will prevent people from trying to do what they call denial of service, where they send too many TCP connections without the whole three-way handshake going through. You'll get the two-way, like you'll do, the SYN-ACK, but it won't send the SYN-ACK back. So that's one thing you can do. The storm control multiplier, if you are with your switching, if you do if you have, say, 500 or more devices on a network segment, and you accidentally send a broadcast to all these devices, this will prevent storm control. It'll prevent the broadcast storm, which is what this is referring to. They typically don't happen, but they can on larger deployments. So, like when you have, say, hotels where you might do an IP config, and you might see that you might have a /20 subnet mask for 2,000 users or what have you. That's typically the place that you're going to see this. And on the switch port, you're going to implement storm control on that, going to that access point, so that if broadcast storm does kick in, or there's too much broadcast, it'll tailor it back. So I was really hoping to show you guys that. Extensions. You can actually create activities. Do you want to use the current network as the answer? Yes. So what you can do here is you can actually set up activities. So you go instructions and you say, okay, this is what you're going to do, and then you can say answer network, and then you can say these are all the options. This is where it's going to work. Connectivity test. This is what has to be. This is what has to work. Overall feedback. This is what you're going to get. Connectivity test. This will kill you. The one thing about this is when you're setting up, going through like the Cisco Networking Academy, you'll get a lot of this where you'll have assessment tree, where you'll have to do, say for instance, they'll set up point values for this, so CDP, class maps. You'll have to do something with that, and you'll have to go command privilege, and then console line, stuff like that. They'll pick and choose what it is you have to deal with and configure, and then they'll set up the, say, test activity. and then you have to check results and assessment items, and then you can say, okay, this and this didn't get done, and then this is how long it took you to do it. Connectivity tests, and it'll say what's all working. You can hit the exit on this guy, and then it'll give you a percent completion. So right now I'm not doing anything with it because of the fact that yes. So that's it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.